Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, how has mail-in and early voting changed the political landscape? And a new bipartisan group wants to elect more pro-business leaders to the county council and other elective offices. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by Jim Shalleck, former chair of the Montgomery County Board of Elections, and spokesperson for the Montgomery County Business Owners Roundtable, Eric Stewart. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Many point to the election of Neil Potter as Montgomery County executive in 1990 as ushering in the idea that Montgomery County, whether fair or not, is not as business friendly as the neighboring jurisdictions in Virginia. Reputations once earned are very hard to change, as any parent would have told you growing up. And with us today is Eric Stewart, a spokesperson for the Montgomery County Business Owners Roundtable, which is supporting the election of political leaders dedicated to economic growth in Montgomery County. Welcome, Eric.
Thank you very much. It's nice to be here. Thank you, Casey.
The formation of any new political organization is kind of a unique thing with two entrenched political parties. Eric, tell us about your organization and why it was necessary for this ad hoc committee to be formed.
Well, I must say that this was somewhat organically grown. It came as a result of conversations by Democrats, Independents, Republicans, all concerned about three core issues: the safety in our county, the schools and the schooling system, as well as the quality of the business environment here. And all three of these have been not only lagging, but suffering and falling short of a measure, I think, that all three parties can agree need to see improvement in. And so, because the parties tend to drive a lot of other issues besides those three core issues, we came together to say, hey, this is what's most important. And we want candidates from either party that will support good safety, good schools, and good business. So that's why I've got my own personal reasons for why I got involved. But in general, I think it's time for us to make the issues more important than the party.
So, and what's been the reaction to your organization's efforts?
Well, I think that we're still pretty new. So, Casey, we do not get a lot of reaction other than very positive reaction, whether I'm talking to a Democrat, an Independent, or Republican, parent, business leader, or otherwise. There's an incredible acknowledgement that that's a great idea, that we need to have this middle ground where we're working together. We're creating an environment that I think existed politically years and years ago in this county that has drifted, like our country, towards a very partisan divide. And the why behind that, that's not really my focus. We want to be focused on what's positive, what's encouraging. And I like the definition of that word, encouragement, which is a French word. It means to put the heart into. We want to put the heart back into Montgomery County. And the best way for a business owners roundtable is to focus on those three core issues. And safety is a personal concern to me. I have a son who's a police officer. I've got a car that was stolen out from in front of my place a year and a half ago. I've seen a lot of degradation in my confidence personally. And I think we also have seen the numbers for safety in Montgomery County shift negatively. And this is a confidence and safety issue, right? I mean, we want to have confidence we're going to be safe at night walking around downtown Rockville or wherever it might be. And then the school side, it seems like the issues for schooling have revolved around very much preferences as opposed to the core important issues, which is you need to build equity into your own mind. That's your responsibility as a student, and it's the responsibility of the schooling system to teach and build that equity and hold children accountable, because at the end of the day, making people feel good at the end, when you hit 18 and you're on your own, it's not about feeling good. It's about getting a good job. It's about being able to make money for you, your future family, if you choose to have one. And I think that's where it feeds right into the business environment. So our business environment is also lackluster now. We've seen most business environments that are positive, such as other places in Virginia, that have drawn a lot of our businesses across the bridge, have pulled those businesses by virtue of the tax environment. But I think it's more going back to that word encouragement. Our business environment is not encouraging businesses by putting the heart into the businesses, creating platforms online, making it simple for folks who only speak Spanish, who only speak Vietnamese or Chinese, or even our English-speaking Americans find it difficult and daunting and contradictory so consistently to make permit applications and stay on top of all those rules. It feels like you're constantly filing taxes all the time as a business owner, rather than focusing on what's going to make money and ultimately going to pay those taxes. So,
well, I want to cover some of your endorsements, but
sure.
I would be remiss if I didn't bring up the fact that some of three people who you endorsed in Board of Education elections during the primary actually disavowed your group's support. And there are those that say, whether it's fair or not, that your group is a cover for the moribund Montgomery County Republican Party.
Well, I think we can only exist in either fear or faith at any given point in time, right? We have to choose whether we're going to be in fear or we're going to be in faith for change. This is not about a Republican-driven issue. This is an issue-driven political action committee, and therefore it's not a front to any political organization at all. So I would just say that's not a correct interpretation. I think more the issue is a fear of that being an interpretation and therefore coloring people's judgment. But again, you can't control what other people are going to do. You can only control what you choose to do. And we as a county need to work together and see change in this area. And that's Democrats, Independents, and Republicans joining together.
Well, this week, I guess, earlier this week, you released a slate of candidates that is being endorsed for the upcoming general election. So why don't we go through each of those candidates and tell why they would be a good fit for Montgomery County? We'll start with the executive race.
Okay, so just to point this out to our audience, we created a slate of Democrat and a slate of Republican candidates that we endorsed for the primaries, okay? And we went through multiple interview cycles with different candidates to identify those who would be for the issues that we're supporting. And so we endorsed David Blair, okay? We felt like David was a good candidate for business here in Montgomery County on the Democratic primary side. Unfortunately, David didn't win his primary race, and Mark Elrich is going to be competing with Reardon Sullivan, okay? So Reardon, by the way, is a great guy. He's a local man. He graduated from Wooten High School, my alma mater, and he's an engineer by trade. He's run an engineering business here in Montgomery County for many, many years. He understands the importance of business, and we really need a guy like that in office who's actually run a business and knows what it takes to survive and thrive in Montgomery County in somewhat difficult circumstances.
So, I mean, given the results of the Democratic primary, the majority of Democrats didn't even vote for Mark Elrich to be county executive. So is there a realistic opportunity for Reardon to make inroads and actually overcome what's seen as a huge registration disadvantage?
Well, it's true that that Mark didn't actually get the majority. He just won, I think, because of a split in opportunity within the Democratic Party. And he just, it's unfortunate that David didn't get into that position. I would say to those who are watching who are Democrats to say, look at the job performance and look at the guy who's going to get the job done and bring business back to Montgomery County. Don't let it be a party-driven issue. Same as I would say if David was running, I would say focus on David's capability as a business leader. Again, we're not about one party or the other, which is why, skipping over and talking about Dan Kuda and Marilyn Balcom, who are both running for a seat in the county council. These are two very well-qualified individuals running against each other, and we're endorsing both of them Marilyn is a Democrat and Dan is a Republican. We're endorsing both of them because we think that they're both good candidates as county council. And Marilyn, sadly, was the only Democrat that survived our slate of Democratic endorsed candidates in the primaries.
Maryland is running in District 2, and I thought Dan was running in District 5. Are they running against each other?
They are. They're both in District 2.
Okay, my mistake.
Of course.
And so that's kind of a unique situation. I know Maryland very well. I don't know Dan. Maryland and I were in Leadership Montgomery, the greatest class of 2000, many years ago. It's an inside joke for all LMers. We all were in the greatest class. So I'm, of course, wishing Maryland well. I don't know, as I said, I don't know Dan. Talk about your candidate for District 7.
So for District 7, Harold Maldonado, and if we think about where District 7 is, that is in the north and the eastern quadrant of the county, going all the way up towards Damascus. Harold is a parent, he's an economist, and he's specialized in economic development. So here's a guy, you look at Brookville, you look at Olney, you look at that entire quadrant and the development that's gone up there, and the available space, even the development of business with the beer farms and the other things that are in that district. We need a guy who's going to lead that district with excellence. And Harold he's not only a really, really nice guy. I've met him, we interviewed him, and that's a part of what we did is we took the time to talk to different candidates and get a sense of what their vision was. I think Harold would be great for District 7.
And you have one more district council race that you're supporting. That's District 6. And both 6 and 7 are fairly newly created, carved up districts. So talk about District 6 now.
So Viet Don is a Vietnamese. He's first generation and an attorney and a parent as well. And I've met Viet and his wife, and we went through that interview process with them. This is now like 6 months ago when Viet and I met, and we discussed how he could support and serve the interests of District 6 in Montgomery County. And here again, committed, passionate, understands. He's kind of the underdog in the sense that he's the guy who had to scrap and fight his way into the position that he's in, and he's done a great job of it. We think he's going to bring tremendous change into District 6 if he's elected. We really support his efforts.
So the last candidate you've endorsed is for the school board. And just this week, there have been some rather alarming and shocking news articles coming out of the Washington Post about things that Montgomery County and Marylanders feel about education. So talk about Esther Wells, your nominee for the school board.
Well, Esther's, again, first generation, came through the Montgomery County school system. She's a tremendous woman, vivacious, encouraging. And again, that's something else we look for. We want somebody who's got conviction, but also has kindness. And we think that she brings that measure of focus as a parent herself to bring strength into the schooling system. Sadly, the issues in Montgomery County with schooling have been focused on really preferences rather than on the great education that made Montgomery County strong. We're spending more in Montgomery County on our students and getting less. We need a fresh work through at the school board level. We hope and wish Cheryl great success.
Well, there was an old party called the Throw the Bum Out Party. And even though that your group is trying to sound very positive about candidates, there's definitely a feeling that we need a new turnover in our legislative leaders going forward. Eric, I want to thank you for coming in today and presenting and talking about your organization. And we'll see what happens in around 3 weeks when the general election happens.
Thank you very much, Casey. Our website is mcbroundtable.com if you'd like to see all of our candidates that we're endorsing.
Thanks. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, too.
When we come back from this short break, mail-in ballots are being sent to all Montgomery County registered voters. And how does this impact the election results? Stay tuned. And welcome back. That was an awesome job by Eric Stewart talking about what needs to be changed in our elective policies. But here with us now is the former chair of the Montgomery County Election Commission and a longtime 21 This Week panelist, our friend Jim Shalleck. Welcome back, Jim.
Oh, it's great to be back.
Yeah, your duties, because you've been so important over the last several years as election commissioner, has prevented us from having you on the show. So we're really happy that you can talk about all the changes that have occurred and the dynamics that are occurring with mail-in ballots and with early voting and an election that just is going to start, in 23 days. So welcome back.
Thank you.
We want you to also to talk about a little bit about the decision by the Court of Appeals to allow the counting of early voting ballots, which, some would say is in contravention to the clear meaning of the Maryland statute, which authorized it. So, but first, let's talk about mail-in ballots. It's been decided that a mail-in ballot is going to be mailed to every registered voter in Montgomery County, whether they want it or not. So how does that work? And is it rife for abuse?
Well, my main concern with mail-in balloting, and that's the future. I mean, election day is the past. In the last election for president in Montgomery County, about 540,000 votes cast for either Biden or Trump. On election day, only about 40,000 people voted. So when you woke up on election day for president, almost 500,000 people in Montgomery County had already voted. So rearview mirror is election day. The future is mail-in ballots and early voting. My main concern is Casey Aiken gets a mail-in ballot. We know because we're mailing it to you at your address. The problem we have, and it's legislative, is that we don't check signatures. You can send in your mail-in ballot with a C or a scribble, and we cannot reject that ballot. We have to accept it. The philosophy in Maryland, and it's legislative, is who are we? We being bureaucrats appointed by the governor. Who are we to tell Casey Aiken how to sign your name? That's always been a concern for me. So when I'm asked over 6 years, any fraud in early voting and mail-in ballot, my answer is, I don't know. I don't know. However, nobody's ever brought me evidence of fraud. But is it out there? I'm sure somebody's picked up their father's ballot and voted it and mailed it in. Yes, those things happen. But can I prove it? No. So we have to tighten up on the receiving end of mail-in ballots, verification of signatures. That's a technical big leap. But
well, that was part of the controversy in Georgia when over ballot signatures, because in Georgia the system was not only did they have to sign the ballot, but they also had to sign and date the outside of the envelope that was being submitted. So that's a big issue, and it's very controversial because in Georgia they were accused of trying to pass Jim Crow laws all over again. So,
well, I've never seen evidence of fraud. Is it out there? I'm sure that we're dealing with human beings, but mail-in ballots and early voting is the future. People love it. And eventually it's going to expand, and election day is going to be irrelevant. And it changes the dynamic of campaigning.
Well,
I'm
sorry for interrupting. But with the expansion of mail-in balloting, are we also seeing ballot harvesting, which also could be fraudulent?
Yes, look, nothing's perfect. And we have to tighten the reins on early voting and mail-in balloting. But people love it. They get a ballot in the mail, they vote it, they can put it in a drop box, which are very secure. They're covered by cameras. They pick up the ballots maybe twice a day. They're under watch, under seal. So it's a good way to vote. I mean, it's easy. It changes the dynamic, though. Candidates that used to wait for election day to go to the polls and hand out stuff and wave signs, you're done. You're done. The election is over by election day. Over.
Well, so let's also talk about that, because let's talk about the counting of ballots Dan Cox, who was running for governor, challenged the Board of Election on whether or not ballots could be counted before Election Day, because the law says they're not counted until Election Day. But he lost. So what's that all about, Jim?
And he should have lost. Get the hell out of our elections, Dan Cox. I know these people. Nahid Kozame, David Naiman, all these people that I've worked with, the leaders of the board, the staff, the volunteers. They are wonderful, ethical, terrific people. Shame on any political hack that questions the integrity of the Board of Elections and its staff. These are wonderful, ethical people. And
but isn't it possible, Jim, that if you start counting these mail-in ballots, the results can get leaked out before Election Day?
Yes.
Isn't that the concern?
Yes. The concern is fraudulent ballot stuffing and counting or leaking. Yeah, that's a concern. But you have ethical, terrific people doing it. We have to have faith in the system. The ease of voting for people is the priority. We want everybody to vote, and people vote by mail, early voting. They want to do it. It's fair. Give me one example, Casey, one, that some candidate lost because of fraudulent counting. No.
I did, Jim. I lost in the 2000 election. I know there was fraud.
No, look.
Just kidding. I came in third. I didn't have a chance of winning. Anyway, Jim, I got to cut you off. We're running out of time. I want to thank you for coming in. And also thank you for endorsing the integrity of our election system. It's really important to hear from people like yourself that the election system here in Maryland is safe and secure. I want to thank you for coming in, and stay tuned for parting shots when we come back from the short break. Welcome back. I'm taking the opportunity to deliver my own parting shot today. But first, I want to thank both our guests for appearing today. Each person who appears on this program does so for one reason and one reason only, and that's because they want to make Montgomery County and the state of Maryland a better place to live. There are a lot of people who think that our quality of livelihood is decreasing, and these people are passionate about keeping Montgomery County the wonderful place that we all think of it. But now, as we're preparing for today's show, we were stunned by the news that all 5 appointed members of the Montgomery County Division of Maryland Park and Planning Commission resigned en masse. The resignation came after months of debate regarding the Thrive Montgomery 2050 plan and the personal controversy involving Casey Anderson, the board chair. These resignations have set off seismic political reverberations, but we didn't have time to address them today. And in fact, there wasn't enough information until this morning. There are 2 wonderful articles in the Washington Post in Friday's edition about all of the shocking details of what is going on with the planning board. We're going to address those issues in next week's show. But on top of that, there was another stunning story in the Washington Post, which reveals that the majority of Maryland voters say that elementary school discussions of LGBTQ acceptance is inappropriate. This too is a story of broad ramifications in our county, and we are going to address that again on next week's show when we have more time to explore the issues. For 21 this week, I want to thank the viewers for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest-hitting political talk show. I'm Casey Aiken.